Panelists, welcome. Here's question number one today in this forum on university and college experiences. Can you tell us, please, your name and the institution you are attending, where it's located, and how many students are there? Just undergraduate only. I know some of you go to a college that has graduate students, but let's just talk about undergraduate, okay? And we'll go right to the start. Asha, ready?
Hi, I'm Aja Archikevich. I go to the University of Manitoba. It's in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, if you don't know where that is. And there's 25,000 undergrads there. A.
Hi, I'm Charlie Birdwell. I go to Tulane University, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it has about between 7,000 and 8,000 students.
Hi, I'm Tony Della Vega. I go to the New School in Manhattan, New York, and our school is 10,000 strong. Woot woot.
Hi, my name is Morgan Fisher, and I go to Southern Methodist University, SMU, and it is in Dallas, Texas, and it's about 6,500 undergrad.
Hi, I'm Astrid Leden, and I go to Columbia University in New York City, also in Manhattan with Tony. And my school is about 6,000 to 6,500 undergrads.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Mosman. I go to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, which is pretty close to Chicago, and it's about 7,000 undergrad.
Hi, I'm Marie Seneschal. I go to Northeastern University. It's in Boston, and there's about 12,000 undergrad.
Hi, my name is Alejandro Ferrer Lugo. I go to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. It's in Minneapolis and St. Paul, both. And there's about 24,000, 25,000 undergrads there.
My name is Jake Neifeld. I go to the University of Kansas, located in Lawrence, Kansas. And there is about 21,000 undergrad.
Hi, I'm Helene Fentner. I go to McGill University. It's in Montreal in Canada. And on the main campus of McGill, there's around 30,000 undergrad, and on my little baby campus, there's around 2,000.
All right, Helene, let's keep the microphone there with you. So let's go back here now. You've just finished your first semester. So tell us, please, about your favorite class. What was it? What was it about it that you liked? How hard was it? What can you share about this favorite class in your first semester of college?
My favorite class that I took this semester was a required one called the Global Environment, and it's the only class that I took on the downtown campus in a lecture hall of about 200, maybe more than 200, so really big class. And it was all about different Earth systems and interactions on the planet, and I think that I can safely say that it's one of my favorite classes I've ever taken. And yeah, it was required for my major, but I really enjoyed it as well. And it brought together a lot of things that I learned in biology at Minnetonka that I really enjoyed.
My favorite class was my health class. It was Personal and Community Health, 260. And it was about all of the different aspects of a person's health and diseases and all that. But it gave you more of a choice of what you wanted to believe in based on the facts rather than telling you a position that you had to believe in.
For me, my favorite class I took this semester was multivariable calculus, and I know a few of you guys are taking that right now. It's a lot harder in college because you do it all in one semester, so if you can get it done in high school, great. I liked it because it was pretty challenging and kind of brought out the best of me, and you kind of learned how to apply it into economic terms. That's my major, which was great, as well as the physics and the mathematics aspect of it.
My most unique class that I took this semester was called Of Princes and Utopias, and it was a philosophy, history, and politics class. We started with the ancients, so like Plato and Aristotle, and we worked our way all the way up to reading from today. So that was really interesting to get sort of a political perspective of like the way that our government's formed, and yeah, it was my favorite class so far. Yeah.
My favorite class was environmental science, which sounds pretty similar to Helene's. We learned about lots of different Earth systems, so the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, that sort of thing. Kind of ended it with climate change and how that's happening in today's time. We for assignments, we did just cool stuff like make figures and charts and stuff that you would see in like international reports, which was a super cool, fun thing to do. And I really enjoyed that, even though that wasn't technically even supposed to be my focus this year.
I'd have to say I have like two favorite classes. My first would be my Portuguese class, which was kind of cool getting to do a language we didn't have here at Minnetonka and kind of at a college level language, but also a required course that all freshmen in Columbia College have to take called Literature Humanities. It's a year-long literature class that we begin the first semester with only ancient Greek texts, and it was something I'd never done before, reading like the Iliad and the Odyssey and like other philosophical people. So it was really interesting being able to like dive into those discussions and really read texts that I'd never been exposed to before.
Mine's pretty basic, but I really loved my economics class. I was in micro, and I never took that in high school. And looking back, I definitely regret that now because I really liked it. Learned a lot of stuff. I think it like combined a lot of the things that I'm interested in, and so I decided to be an economics major because of that.
My favorite class is probably Foundations in Acting 1. I go to Performing Arts College, so I'm studying acting, so of course. But we did lots of scene study. Sorry, I'm sick. And we presented scenes throughout the class, and we got to like look at acting from an industry and an artistic perspective, which is really interesting.
My favorite class was a class called Development Issues and Strategies, which was an international development class. And it's kind of funny because it's like the third class in the track, and I wasn't supposed to be in it. And it was all sophomores and juniors, but my advisor let me take it for some reason. So it was really, really hard, but it was two professors that taught it because one of them got pregnant. She had to have a baby. But like the first professor, she was like so put together and so knowledgeable about every single thing related to international development, and I learned so much. And like now I know all these like political like concepts and theories. And then our second professor was super weird, and he auditioned for America's Got Talent at one point, but like he just like was super funny and gave like really entertaining lectures and really helped us understand the material while also being really cool, and like several times like encouraged us to start like a revolution. And it was just a really like interesting class, even though it was really difficult for me because I wasn't supposed to be in it, but like I learned a lot, so it was great.
My favorite class was my psychology class. I took AP Psych here, so it made it a lot easier because I already knew like the first couple of units. But we also had to do like 8, I think, psychology studies. So it really got to like, we got to put like what we learned into like how they actually study psychology. So that was cool.
Panelists, you don't necessarily have to all answer this question, but we want to go back to academics just one more time just to find out. We know that the schedule of being in college is different. It's so different than high school, okay? So can you just tell us, like, those of you who want to share, what was your easy day of the week, and then what was your super long day of the week? Like specifically, what did that look like? Who wants to go first? Jake, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll
Take
go
us to
for it.
pieces, okay?
So my hardest day of the week was definitely Monday. I had a 7:30 class, and then
7:30 a.m.
7:30 a.m. Yes, yes, and then I had class all the way up until about 5 in the evening. I had like 10 minutes in between some classes to get food or to go to the bathroom, but Monday it was, I think I had close to 5 or 6 credits, or not credits, classes on Monday. On the flip side, Tuesday, I had an 8 a.m. and then I was done for the rest of the day.
Okay, and the 8 a.m. was from 8 until when?
8 until 9. So it was an hour, and then I just went back to my room and slept.
Okay, let's get a couple more students to share. Pick up the microphone and then just tell us, about your really long day, and then what was the easy day?
Okay, I'd say mine is pretty similar to Jake's. So my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had 5 classes. So then I got done at like 3, so it was a very high school like schedule from 8 to 3, which was fine because I was kind of still in that high school mindset. And then on Tuesday, Thursdays, I only had 1 class, and it was at 2. So it was kind of nice to have like the off day to do my work, and I liked that setup a lot. And I recreated a very similar schedule for next semester because I thought it really worked well.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, my longest day was Friday from 8 to 6. I had like studio classes all day, so I'm on my feet, like being a fool. And it's like a lot of work, and like there's like 10-minute breaks like every 2 hours. But my shortest day was probably Monday, which is really nice because I could have like a long weekend. I had dramatic structure and style from like 5 to 7, so I got to sleep in the entire weekend, which is really nice. And I have that next semester too, so.
Just quickly here, did anyone on the panel have no classes on Friday? Okay, just tell me.
My schedule was also similar to like some of the other people, where Monday I had 4 classes between 9 and 3, and then at night from 6 to 9 I had choir for 3 hours. But then Tuesday, Thursday I had 1 class at 11, and it is literally like right next to my dorm. So I just rolled out of bed and I went to class, and then I'd roll back into bed.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how college works.
We can do one more.
Okay. I would also say my Mondays, but because I also had class like 8 to 4. But even though I had no classes on Fridays, because most students at my school don't have class on Fridays, it was probably one of the more difficult days of the week, just because you would think that having the whole day open, you would be like productive. But it's very easy to have an entire day, an extra day in your weekend to do work. But if you don't really have structure to it, like the rest of the days, sometimes you can waste your day. So even though it was no classes, it was very difficult because I needed to structure my studying to make sure that I got everything done and I wasn't just wasting a day of my long weekend.
And here's a question from one of the students in the room here about life on campus, living in the dorms. What was your dorm room like? How many roommates did you have? Did you luck out? I'm assuming that must mean were the roommates okay. So let's get a couple of people who didn't answer the long day, short day. Just pick up the microphone. Who wants to go? Alejandro?
Yeah, so my roommate was one of my best friends from high school. There's Luca. It was a blast, really. They say like not to pick your best friend for roommate, but I think it was better because you already know them, so you don't have to do that getting to know you stage. And also for my dorm, it's kind of like it's the only dorm on West Bank in the U of M, if you're familiar with the campus. And so it's a little quieter, which is nice. So you got a good balance between academics and like having fun with the people in your wing. So.
Okay, let's go down.
My dorm don't have a roommate, and none of the dorm rooms have a roommate, so that's really awesome because it just like gets you to like go out and meet people. I'm not in the fancier building, but my friends live in the fancier building and they have their own bathroom, so that's really awesome too. Yeah, that's about it.
Let's just quickly find out. Anyone else here on the panel in a single, had the room all to yourself?
Now, yeah.
I lived in a room with 3 people, and we had a suite style bathroom which we shared with 2 other people. That was not working. I then moved into another room in the same building on the same floor with 2 other people, and we had our own bathroom. I then moved out of that room across campus to the oldest building on campus into a single, which has communal bathrooms, which is fine, but also it's the oldest building on campus, and it is haunted.
Yeah, my roommate just moved out, so he lives in the city though, so like he lives like 20 blocks away from the school, so I don't know why he was even in the dorms in the first place. But he was like really sweet, and he would go away on the weekends, so I had the place to myself, which was ideal. Like if your roommate's like that, that's so nice.
I just want to add something. So I had a random roommate actually, because the roommate that I had originally picked out, she committed to a different school off the wait list like end of June. I was freaking out. I was like, how am I going to do a random roommate? And she's my best friend. It worked out so well. And all of our friends like who have random roommates, it worked out. And it was like people who picked them are having a more difficult time. So for you seniors, don't put a lot of pressure on trying to like pick a roommate and be like, oh my gosh, who am I going to like? Who am I going to get along with? Sometimes that randomness is really going to work in your favor. Even though I know it's kind of like a scary thing to do, I would totally recommend it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I didn't even look at the Facebook group to find a roommate. That sounds scary, and so I just went with random, which might also sound scary, but it does usually end up working out. And if it doesn't, there are resources for that. I'm not best friends with my roommate, but I'm friendly with him. He's a nice guy, and we don't really we're in different friend groups. We hang out with different people, but at night we'll be in the room together and we'll just talk about our days, and he's a nice guy, and so if you don't need to hang out with your roommate all the time, is what I'm saying. It's nice to have that person there, but if you're not getting along with them great, or just if you're not best friends with them, that's okay too.
Yeah, my roommate is my best friend, but both scenarios work really well. She's from Chicago. We sort of picked each other, but it was super last minute. So don't stress about who you're picking. A lot of times it'll be totally different than what you're expecting. She's like super extroverted, but it works out really well. We also have our own bathroom. We have 2 doubles and 1 bathroom, which is nice. We don't have to like super interact with the other people. We just share a bathroom. But cleaning your own bathroom is like a little more work, but it's definitely worth it for not having a communal one.
Here's another question from the room. Have you joined a club or activity that you did not do in high school?
So I joined ballroom dancing just for fun. Monday nights, it's a really nice break. My roommate, who like on the roommate thing is one of my best friends, she got me into it. And like people compete, I don't compete. I just go for like a fun little break. 8 to 10 Monday nights, salsa dancing with some of my friends, and it's a really great way to like meet so many different people because we do have grad students. So I've met people who are like in their first year of undergrad like me, and people who are like in their PhD programs who like just all come together on Monday nights for fun, like salsa music. So definitely something I did not think I would join, but seriously just do for fun right now.
I feel like in college you're almost definitely going to join something or do something that you didn't do in high school just because there's so many more things to do. So like I write for the satirical newspaper. I'm also now a radio DJ. We don't have a radio station here, so like obviously that's something I get to do. And I'm also in meditation club, which is actually really cool and like a great part of my week.
So I guess I was kind of involved with it in high school, but I joined a religious group on campus, and it's super relaxed. And it got to the point where they found out I could play instruments, and now I get paid to play music at services for them. But also, like, in college, the easiest way to meet people is by joining a club. By joining a club and just interacting with people that have the same interests as you do, it's the perfect way to find brand new people that you could make lifelong friendships with.
I joined the permaculture club, not knowing really anything about permaculture, which has been so interesting to hear more about the environment and how building up sustainable gardens and all of that can really impact everyone's lives around you. So it's really been cool to learn more about things that I really hold dear to me now, even 4 months later, that I may not have even known what it meant before I joined the club. So it's really, really a cool time and place to explore new things.
Here's another question from the room. Sports. Are you on a team sport? Are you in a club sport? How do you find the time for it?
So I play club soccer. Unfortunately, the U doesn't have a D1 soccer team, which
For
is sad.
men.
Yeah, what's up?
For men.
Yeah, for men. Do it for women. So if you're looking to play there, go ahead. So for guys, so we practice twice a week, and we have a game every weekend. And it's not that big of a time commitment. It's about 2 hours per practice. And then the games are usually off campus, so we have to drive there. But it's something worth it. You get to meet a lot of people from different grades. So a lot of my really good friends are seniors right now, and I get to have their perspective on things. And it's just, and then we also had a tournament out of town for September, October, and November. And it was really a blast because you get to, again, meet these guys, stay at a Super 8 motel, really cheap. So that was an experience as well.
This is kind of an activity or a sport, I don't know. I just recently joined this rock climbing club. So we have a really nice gym, and there's a rock climbing wall, and me and my friend thought it would be a fun random thing to do, and it has been very fun. So.
And I play club ultimate frisbee at Kansas, and it's about like 6 hours a week, and you can put in as much time as you want to. If you really want to be serious about the club and like show that you really want to be there and that you want to get better at it, then the time is there. But it's all about what can you fit in with your school and your other activities, because it may not be your first priority.
Anyone else? Here's an item here that's interesting. It says, have you joined a fraternity or sorority? What can you tell us about the party scene at your university? Who wrote that?
My school is the #1 party school. And let me tell you, every day is Mardi Gras. I party 8 times a week. Every day, twice on Saturday. Just kidding. So Tulane is like very notoriously for like being notorious for being a party school. I'd say it's very work hard, play hard. So like people care about school and they do their work, but then on the weekends they go to the Boot, which is like the local establishment, or they like go to frat parties. It's fine. I'd say it's a pretty dominant culture, and if you're not that into it, it can be like sometimes sort of alienating because everyone's just like really excited to go to the frat party, and you're like, okay, I don't want to just like stand around and jump. But like there's so many other programs like that the school will put on, or like in anywhere you go, they'll like you can go out to the city and there's awesome things to do. As far as rushing goes, our school waits for the like spring to rush, so like people come a week early to rush for the regular like Greek sororities and fraternities. I'm rushing for Gamma Rho Lambda, which is a multicultural sorority, and it rushes like 2 weeks later, and it's really chill, and you get kind of the same like family sorority siblinghood vibe, but less of the like intense social pressure. So it's nice.
There aren't actually sororities and fraternities really in Canada. There aren't a ton of them. And I know, well, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but I think that sometimes people really feel like they need to join a sorority or fraternity in order to really find a super close-knit group of people. And maybe it's just that that isn't an option that's given, but I do think that there are so many other times and places to find a really close group of friends if you feel like maybe joining and being a part of any Greek life isn't for you.
I also go to school in Canada, so I think there's like 2 sororities and like 2 frats, but they're more like academic than like partying. Like they have like study groups every weekend, I think. But every Wednesday there's like, it's called Hub Night. It's normally just for like residence kids, but that's like a fun like midweek activity that me and my friends always go to. And I don't know, it's just like what you make it at this school. Like you can like hang out with whoever you want on campus and like have a little party, if that makes sense.
So I would say SMU is similar to your description of Tulane, also known for being like a pretty big party school. Greek life is huge. It's about 45% of our undergrad. And we also rush second semester. Southern sororities, it's definitely a lot different than what a lot of my friends experienced up north. So like if that's your thing, like I'm super excited for it. Definitely look into that at the schools that you are considering. There is kind of a lot of pressure to be in a sorority because it kind of defines like your social life and like what you do just at a really small school, and since it's so big, but most people make it into a sorority, and so I'd say like 95% of people, it ends up in being a really, really good thing. And so I am super duper excited to do that. And yeah.
Just on a quick note, like my Columbia is quite the opposite, in which it's like maybe 18% of people are in Greek life, and it's really if you choose to partake in it or not. So the guys rush frats in the fall, and then girls rush sororities in the spring. But it's not a huge percentage of people. A lot of the sorority and fraternity groups really like expand, like they're not really contained in only frats are friends with frat boys and sororities with sorority girls. But with the party scene, it's really like a work hard, play hard, kind of like Charlie was talking about Tulane, but just on a different level. If you don't want to go to party scene, there's an option for you. If you do want the party scene, there's that option too. And I really like how if I choose to rush or if I don't, which I most likely won't, I still have an opportunity to, go out and have fun, but not necessarily feeling pressured that I have to rush in order to do that.
There's 10 of you here on the panel. Can I just have you raise your hand? How many of you are at college with a car? All right, 0 out of 10. How many of you are at college where you have taken an on-campus job? You have a job at your college university campus. All right, 1 out of 10. Okay. All right, no problem. Okay. Here's a question from the audience here. One is, when you were in high school here, did you ever take PSEO, post-secondary enrollment option? And if yes, how did that experience compare to where you are now? Anyone here do PSEO? Okay, all right. Let's go to this question here about homesickness. Did any of you battle homesickness? And if yes, how did you get past it?
So a part that a lot of people don't mention about college is, I'd say probably like the first week or so, there are some nights where you're like, wow, I miss my friends, or I miss all of this, because you haven't gotten acclimated yet to the school or to the people that are around you. That goes away because you get to meet people and you just like get to know really cool people, and that kind of goes away. I do know some people on my floor, my dorm, that get really homesick sometimes, and they have to take a day to themselves. And it's all about just how much do you want to put into the school and how much do you want to be there, really.
Yeah, I haven't gotten homesick. I love New York. My sister lives 5 blocks away from me, so like home is literally 5 blocks away from me, which is like New York. That's like a 10-minute walk. But like, yeah, I mean, sometimes I do miss my friends, but I made friends so quickly where I'm at because we're all kind of like, we're in a new place. Like most kids are like at my school are international, so they're coming from different countries. So we all like made friends really quick with each other, and people say like, oh, you meet your friends like in your second semester of your first year, but I found some like really great friends in my first semester that I still keep in touch with, and they're texting me right now. They're like pinging me on my Apple Watch.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I did not get homesick, which I totally thought I would. Like, I cried the whole drive down to Texas, and I was like, I'm an only child too, so I was like, I miss my parents, like everything. And I got to college, and I was like, wait, this is amazing. It is so fun. There's just always something to do. I'd say that the people, so for example, my roommate did get a little homesick, even though she lives 30 minutes away. Yeah. I just would have to say the biggest tip is you have to go out and do stuff. If you sit in your room and just kind of like, oh, I miss home, like that's not gonna fix your problem. Like, yeah, we need that time to ourselves a little bit, but go out, like meet people, find things to do. There's always something going on, and also is critical in your first week that you have to go out and meet people, and just like people on your floor, people in your classes, introduce yourself. Everyone's looking to make friends, and you form those bonds really quick, especially when you live with all these people. Like all of my best friends I met within the first week. So be social, and I wish the best.
I also wasn't homesick. Like literally the only people I missed were my 2 little siblings. But honestly, when I'm back home, I miss being at school. Like I miss all of like my friends at school, and a lot of them actually live in Minnesota and like kind of near me, so I don't really need to miss them that much. But like I do. I just miss like having my own space in my dorm and just like being there. It's like my second home.
It's really interesting. 3 different people here in the room have written basically the same question, and it goes something like this. We always hear that college is much harder than high school. So is it? I mean, what's been the scariest thing about going to college?
Do you want to go? Or I can go? Okay, you can go. Okay. I think the scariest thing is like, I don't know if you can say it's harder or easier. It's just, I think like one of us said it earlier, it's just like more work, more expectation. You're expected to juggle so many more things in less time. And so I think the scariest thing for me, it's not that much that it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. It's more like, how am I going to get it all done, but also have like time to myself. Like, I don't want to stay in the library. There are people who, don't do their work and stay in the library until 6 a.m. with a pillow, but there are people who don't do that. And you've kind of just learned how to balance your schedule. So I think that's been really the hardest thing for me in the transition, is that I'm expected to do all these things without the constant reminders of being in class and like your teacher being, oh, remember that you have to do this reading for tomorrow and you need to go through this page. It's like your professor won't tell you that. You're expected to look at the syllabus and realize, oh, we're on week 2 of this book. I need to have this done by Monday. So it's kind of just being on top of your things without really having someone there to constantly remind you of. And it's just something that I've had to learn how to develop over my semester. It's just, how do I manage my schedule? How do I make sure that I'm doing my work, but like also having fun, because being in the library is not that fun.
Along with what Astrid was saying, I know this isn't true for all of us, but for me, my grade breakdown for my classes is just about my midterms and my final, which, I mean, a lot different than high school, where you have assignments every week, where you're writing 5 different papers in a semester, and all of that contributes to your final grade, and then you have your 10% final, whereas some of mine were 50. And so it is, I mean, you have a ton of free time to yourself. Like we were all saying, some of us don't even have classes a day a week. But that can be a little misleading and a little reality check once you realize that isn't actually free time, and that you have to be using a lot of that time for your studies, because there's really no one there to hold your hand and guide you through it. It falls on your shoulders to manage your time.
Yeah, so SMU is a liberal arts school, so we have just a lot of like university curriculum requirements, things that we have to take before we kind of get into classes that are specific to our major. So I took a lot of those this semester, and I found them to be much easier than Tonka. I really challenged myself in high school, which I'm grateful for, because it has set me up really great to like succeed in college. And I think that, like everyone else has said, if you learn to manage your time well, like you absolutely will succeed. And the biggest difference between college is that like there are so many less kind of like requirements, yet the things you're required to do are very, very important. Like you only have 3 tests all semester for a class, where like in high school you would take a test like every other week, and you'd be like, oh, like I could retake it or I could do this. But there's a lot of pressure on like those types of things, so you have to learn how to study hard for that and like spread that out. I used to do things just the night before in high school a lot, every day. But in college you have like months, so you just have to really work on spreading that time out so you don't have that same like night before stress.
I also think one thing I learned in college is like taking advantage of just like the little amount of times to do things. Like some of my best study times was like flipping through like a Quizlet on like the Quizlet app on the streetcar. And it's just like, if I do that for the few minutes every time I do something leading up to my test, it's just like that little amount of time that, even though you have tons of time leading up to college, or like leading up to assignments, it's those little amounts of time that really make the difference when you're working on assignments.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. It's not like you can say if it's harder or easier. It's definitely different. It's definitely an adjustment in your learning style. One thing that I found really important is, like they were talking about managing your time. When you have free time, to decide what the most important thing to do at that moment is, and sometimes it's studying, but sometimes it's like with your friends or by yourself. And like knowing yourself really well and what is the best thing for you to do with your free time that day is like something you have to learn to do, or like get a little better at, to make sure to be on top of everything. But also like your mental health is important too. So
There's a question from the room. Who's going to the college with the best food? Do you want to brag?
This man's in New York. Like I
They
can't.
have Impossible Burgers every day. That's what I have every day at the cafeteria. They like have like gluten-free, vegan, like every option under the sun, and it's really cheap too. But I've like already run out of money on my dining dollars, so gotta refill.
Ooh, I might try to top you on that. I have an unlimited meal plan, and they just spent $50 million on a new dining center, and it has 2 levels, and they have like a like custom pasta thing. And like in the morning you can like make like a custom omelet. And they have like hot foods and like custom sandwiches and like carved meats and like Mongolian grill and like desserts and like all these things. Like you have like 2 floors and you just like keep looking around and you have to figure out what to eat and you're like, okay, like that's what's downstairs. Like let me check upstairs. Okay, like let me go back downstairs. So like it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I have a sink, an oven, and a stovetop. I don't have a cafeteria on my campus, so we cook for ourselves every day, which is it's really fun. It's really good and not as scary as you think it is at all. And I feel like I'm definitely in the minority. I think a lot of people that's not true for at all, but it totally is what you make of it. So if you find yourself at all in a similar situation, don't let it scare you. It becomes social time, it becomes fun time. It's really nice to spend time in the kitchen making home-cooked things that aren't from the cafeteria day in and day out.
Yeah, we also have that. We have a kitchen in our dorm, and I would really plug taking foods while you're here, because honestly, I've made a lot of dishes that we made in those classes, and they turn out pretty good. Like, shout out to Tammy Pika. Like.
There's a question from the room. You guys have just finished finals. So what are exams like in college? Do you ever get a multiple choice question, or is it just all essays? Let's get a couple of you to comment.
My last exam was all multiple choice, 100% multiple choice. And my midterm was worth 10%. My final was worth 15%, so a combined 25% of my entire grade was multiple choice, mostly because it's a huge lecture class and the professor has to grade other things too, that he didn't really want to grade a written exam, is what he told us. But it depends on the class for sure. For us, a lot of the science classes it was a sustainable development class, it was all 100% multiple choice. So it really depends on the course, but depending on what class it is and who the professor is, it may be curved. So that's something that happens a lot with multiple choice exams.
All my tests are also multiple choice. I have 3 midterms and then a final. But also it just depends on the professor, because my friend is taking the exact same classes. I'm taking all science classes. She's taking the exact same classes and she's had like 20 like written answer like questions on hers. So I just lucked out with multiple choice and like, I don't know. So depends on the professor.
Also, some of my classes, at least, like 2 of my classes, didn't have a traditional final exam. They had essays. So we had a 15-page essay that we had 3.5 months to work on. And like, it sounds like a lot, but spread out over time, you get it done. But I had a class that was a traditional final exam that was like 100 short answer questions, and you had to do it in 2 hours. It was terrible. And I've had 50 multiple choice. Like, it totally depends on what class you're taking.
Yeah, I would second that, or third that, I guess. It totally depends on the class that you're taking and the professor. And additionally, some of my classes didn't have a final during the finals week. The professors would just work it into the regular class schedule. So like both for my Spanish class and for my environmental science class, we had a final on the last day of class. So during actual finals week, I ended up with only taking 1 final, which was chemistry, because it's a big lecture class. And it was on the Monday, so the first day of finals week. So I actually got to go home about 4 days before a lot of my other classmates, just because of how few finals I had to take during the actual week.
Yeah, for me personally, all my exams were worth 40% of the grade for the finals. So at least the courses I'm taking, it's a lot more weight to it. So you have to study a lot harder for these, because it's not, it'd be like 2 midterms in the semester and then the final exam, which is worth so much of your grade. So it's definitely a lot more studying than it is in high school for your, 10%, 15% of the grade.
Here's 2 questions that are sort of the same. One question is, why did you choose the university you're attending? The other one is, can you offer us any advice on how we can choose the right college? So students who want to share, if you think back to your senior year and your college search process.
Okay, so I would bet that most of you have never heard of SMU before. I did not hear of it until the first semester senior year, and I thought that I was going to a certain place, like a certain region at least, and I seriously had no idea what SMU was. So I would just say, do not put yourself in a bubble and explore all of your options, because you don't always know what's right before. And I would say definitely things work out the way that they are meant to be. Don't be discouraged if you don't get into, let's say, your dream school. I know SMU wasn't my dream school, but looking back, I could not be more happy to be there. And I'm so glad that I ended up there over all of the other schools that I applied to. So explore everything. Don't discount any schools or areas. Just to let it, whatever happens, and you will be happy with that.
So I got super lucky finding out that I wanted to go to Kansas sophomore year of high school. Yeah, super early. But the thing that I found out through talking with people from my school and from other schools, when you know, you know. If you visit the school and you walk around and you get a feeling, it's one of those things where it's weird saying to you guys that oh, you'll know where your dream school is, but in reality, you won't know until you're there.
I really wanted to go to literally any place with mountains, and I ended up in a frozen wasteland of Winnipeg. But it's okay, because it's about $3,000 a year instead of $50,000, and it just is so nice to be able to just pay it and not have to take out a bunch of loans. So that is also, that's the main reason I chose this, actually. But like everyone else said, I didn't really go to I didn't tour it, I don't think. No, I didn't. Until I got there. I had never seen the campus, but I actually love it. It's kind of a smaller campus, but everyone there is so awesome, and I love the school, so.
Yeah. I definitely did not know I was going to be attending the school that I'm at. My college audition process was very different, because I had to actually audition for the schools that I went to, and then I also had to apply academically. So you had to get in first academically to these schools, and then you had to get past the audition process. And this school was actually the last of my auditions, and it was my worst. And I forgot half my lines of the monologue I was doing. But when I was in the room, when you go to these colleges, if you tour them, you'll just feel it. Because I went to go tour it, and I was kind of I don't know, maybe it'll be okay. And I got there, and I just felt something that said, this is where you're supposed to be.
I applied very last minute. I decided to apply early, and it did end up helping me because that's when I got admitted. But I did apply the night before it was due, just because I'm a very, very indecisive person. And I realized that I was looking for something in a school that I was not every school is perfect. You're not going to find a school that checks every single box on your list, and that's 100% okay. I was very cautious about going to school in the city, because I knew I'd love it, but I knew I would maybe also get distracted, and I knew I wanted things that I wanted at Columbia that I couldn't find at other schools. So it was something that I'm really glad that I ended up applying to, and not deciding to apply to a different school that I was very last minute in doing. But I was really looking for a school that had diversity, not just in people, but also in ideas. I'm finding conversations with people on my floor and my friends about the most random things. Some of my best friends are electrical engineers, and I have no idea how to science. And so it's so cool that Columbia has really brought all these people together, and it was definitely something I was looking for, and something I'm grateful I found.
Yeah, for me, it was two main reasons were that in-state tuition is clutch for me. So that's why I chose a U. And then second one is that they take a lot of AP credit. A lot of the big public universities take a lot of AP credits, so I'm able to get to the U as a freshman, but with sophomore credits. So because of that, I'm able to do 2 majors. So take a look at the schools that you want to go to. They accept a lot of AP credits, and then benefit from that in high school.
Here's a wonderful question. I think it's probably the one we're going to end on, because we want everyone to be able to share it with us. But what piece of advice do you have to share with us now that you've got a semester of college experience? So panelists, welcome back to Minnetonka. Great to have you here. What is it that you'd like to share with our students in the audience?
Work on yourself your senior year. I definitely found myself like doing a lot of self-care my first semester of college when I should have been doing that my entire senior year. I was really focused on like where I'm applying to, how I'm presenting myself to these schools, like what they think of me. And honestly, these schools just want to see the unfiltered you, and they want to see you for who you really are. Like, of course, like academics are important and like focus on school, but also realize that you also are a person and you have to focus on yourself, because if you are just like presenting this fake, like I have 4.0, like I'm this cool person, like they don't care about that. They just want to know if like you're a real human and you like, I don't know. I just would say focus on yourself and give some time for self-care because you're doing a lot.
Something I've noticed in a lot of people that aren't ready for college that are at my school is like you have to be ready to be independent, and you have to be ready to work with other people and like compromise. A lot of people at my school are like not used to being on their own and not used to like doing things themselves and like having to make compromises and work with others. And so like if you haven't done that, like find some way to do that, because otherwise college is like a very rude awakening. And I see that in like a lot of people that I'm around, and like the school I go to like has kind of like a similar demographic as Minnetonka, and so like it's just important to have like some real life experiences before you go out into the real life.
Yeah, for me, mine's a little more academic oriented. So if you know what you want to do in the future in college, what do you want to major in, take a look at the program, take a look at what they require, and try to get the APs or IBs done in high school for those lib eds. For example, I was telling these guys earlier that I still have to take psychology in college because I didn't do it in high school, and I don't want to do that, but I have to, unfortunately. So take a look at the program, see what you can benefit, like if you can take advantage, will this help you in the future, IB, AP, see what can help you in the future preparing, and then also it's you save money by doing APs as well. So
Go to class.
Facts.
It is super easy to sleep in for that 8 a.m. and not go and just get notes from someone that is in your class. But oftentimes they don't write down stuff that they already know, and then you miss out on that information. And it's super, super important that like the easiest way to get A's in college is to go to class and participate.
I think that I would say that sitting here as seniors right now, I remember being in your position last year. I think around this time, I did not think that I was going to go to college, point blank period, because I didn't feel like it was the path for me. I didn't want to do it. I don't have a great reason. And so obviously I did. I loved it. I think I ended up at a great place for me. But my point is that there's no wrong thing that is going to throw the rest of your life into turmoil. If you end up at the wrong place, it's okay. You can fix that. If you decide not to go to college right away, it's okay. You can always go later. There's no wrong thing that you can do. All you can do is what works for you. And don't just follow the mold. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. Listen to yourself. You do need to be ready for college to go there and be able to enjoy it and get the most out of it. So, listen to what you are telling yourself.
I'd say one of the greatest things about going to college is that you go in and there's nothing that defines you, especially. Oops.
Okay, you can finish the thought.
Thank you. I went to a school really far away, like not knowing a lot of people. And so you go in and you get to decide who you want to be. Your teachers don't know your academic backgrounds. Your friends don't know what you were like in high school. They don't know what you were involved with. There's nothing that defines you. And so you get to choose like who you're going to be and what you want to do. And I think that's like the biggest blessing in college, and make the right choices and be who you want to be and just be like authentically you, because that's how you're going to make your friends and that's how you're going to make good connections and get the most out of your whole experience.
Students, would you join me? Let's thank our panelists here. Thanks.